Week 4 college football, let's get it started. The first game I'm taking a look at is between Marshall and Ohio State. So Marshall's a much weaker team than Ohio State. Ohio State has the 12th best ranked offense as well as the first ranked defense. When I look at the game between the two of them, tempo-wise, they should play about an average game. Both the teams are more concentrated on throwing. However, in this game, Marshall's getting a lot of points. I like Marshall plus 39.5. So one of the things is that Marshall's not a completely terrible team. They're really bottom of average. 39.5 is a lot of points. Ohio State doesn't play particularly fast. They're not particularly that high scoring. So I think Marshall will be able to hang enough to not lose by 40 or more points. So looking at the next game, which I have between Kansas and WVU, both these teams' offenses are better than their defenses. West Virginia has a below average defense. Kansas defense is around average. However, one of the things that I look at in this game is the tempo. Both these teams tend to play much slower than average. They both tend to be very run focused. And for that reason, I took Kansas and West Virginia under 57.5 at minus 110. 57.5 is a high total for college football. With both these teams that tend to run more and they tend to play a little bit slower, I think that it'll come in under that number. So heading down south to Louisiana, I'm taking a look at the game between Tulane and Louisiana Lafayette. So Tulane has around an average offense, around an average defense. Louisiana Lafayette has a better offense. They have a weaker defense. Both the teams tend to play a little bit on the slower side. They both tend to be more run focused. So I'm actually taking two picks in this game. I'm double dipping. I'm taking Louisiana plus 3.5 at minus 110, as well as Tulane and Louisiana Lafayette under 55.5. And I took that at bet 365. So Louisiana Lafayette has a significantly better offense than Tulane has. Their defense is significantly worse, but their offense is much better than Tulane's. Both the teams tend to play slow, which favors a lower scoring game. Louisiana Lafayette is at home and they're getting points, so it's a good situation there to take Louisiana Lafayette. So Ball State and Central Michigan University. So Ball State is a weak team on offense and defense. Same situation with Central Michigan. They both tend to play on the slow run. They both tend to run the ball a lot. And for these reasons, I took Ball State and Central Michigan University under 53.5 at minus 110. So with both these teams playing slow, not really high-powered offenses, 53.5 is a relatively average total for college football. So I think this one will come in under that number. So moving to the game between Virginia and Coastal Carolina. So Virginia is really a slightly below average team in both offense and defense. They're relatively evenly powered there. Coastal Carolina, the same story. Offense is better than Virginia's. Defense is slightly better than Virginia's. Tempo ranks not necessarily that difference. It should be about an average speed of game. Thought with the superiority of Coastal Carolina's offense as well as their defense. And they're at home. I took Coastal Carolina plus 3 at minus 110, and I took that at bet 365. So the next game that I'm looking at is between Utah State and Temple. So Utah State's offense is around average. Their defense is ranked as one of the worst in college football. Temple, their offense and defense are both not very good. However, both these teams play very quickly. They both tend to be throwing teams with that run bias of under 1. It means they're passing more than. And so for that reason, I took Utah State and Temple over 51.5. Temple finally scored some points last week. I hope that's going to continue. And the points that they score, as well as Utah State's, will be over 51.5. So the next game I'm looking at is Southern Miss versus Jacksonville State. So Southern Miss is a weak team all around, similar with Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State tends to be a very heavy running team, and Southern Miss tends to play with a slow pace. So even though both the offenses are pretty bad, this total still is 61.5, which is a relatively high total for college football. So I took it under 61.5 at minus 110. I took that at ESPN bet. So moving on to the next game, I'm taking a look at Kent State versus Penn State. So Kent State's the weakest ranked offense in college football I have. Their defense is really not that much better. They tend to play a slower game. They tend to run the ball a lot. So Penn State's offense is in the top 25. Their defense is ranked 7th. So a very good defensive team, decent offensive team. However, they still also play slow with that tempo rank being 91 as well. They tend to run the ball more. My pick in this game is Kent State plus 49.5 at minus 110. So sometimes you have to take these giant spreads, especially it's going to be a slow playing game. Penn State doesn't tend to put up that much points. I think that Kent State can hang in there just enough to not lose by 50 or greater. So that's the pick in the game. Kent State plus 49.5, minus 110. I took that at ESPN bet. So in the game between USC and Michigan, USC has the 4th ranked offense. They're ranked 70th in defense. Michigan is ranked 57th in offense. They're ranked 4th in defense. Michigan tends to play slower. USC tends to play a little bit quicker. However, in this game, despite the fact that Michigan's defense is ranked so good, They haven't played the best this season, but I feel like it's time for them to bounce back. At least my model says that they're a decent enough team to hang with USC. They're at home. I took Michigan plus 5.5. Minus 110, and I took it at Caesars. So staying in the same neighborhood, I'm taking a look at Miami, Ohio versus Notre Dame. So Miami, Ohio has a very weak offense. They have a decent enough defense, being in the top 40. Notre Dame 16th in offense, 8th in defense. Both the teams tend to play slow. They both tend to be heavy favor of the run. And because of this, I took Miami, Ohio, plus 27 at minus 110, and I took that at Caesars. So continuing on, I'm taking a look at the game between Buffalo and Northern Illinois. So Buffalo has a weak offense. They have an average defense. Same situation for Northern Illinois. Both the teams tend to play slow, especially Northern Illinois. They tend to be more run-focused. With that, again, I think it'll be a lower-scoring game, a slower pace, and with Buffalo getting 2 touchdowns, I took Buffalo in this game plus 14 at minus 110. And I took that at Caesars. So in the game between Duke and Middle Tennessee, Duke's offense is not ranked that good. Their defense is very good. Middle Tennessee really isn't anything to write home to in either. Both the teams tend to play average to slightly above average. Middle Tennessee tends to be more of a throwing team. I think with this game being a slightly faster pace and Duke's offense being much better than Tennessee's defense, their defense being much better than Tennessee's offense, I took Duke minus 13.5 at minus 115, and I took that at ESPN bet. So one of the more exciting games, I think, in college football this week is the game between TCU and Southern Methodist. So Southern Methodist is ranked 40th in both offense and defense. They tend to play a quick tempo. They tend to be about balanced between run and pass. TCU's ranked 15th in offense, 54th in defense. They're the 4th fastest playing team in college football, and they tend to throw the ball a lot. So with these together, despite the high total at 57.5, I took TCU and Southern Methodist University over 57.5 at minus 110. I took that at bet 365. So going down to Florida, I'm taking a look at Miami, Florida versus South Florida University. So Miami, Florida, good offense, good defense. South Florida, decent offense, not that great defense. Miami tends to play slow. South Florida tends to play fast. It's really the inverse between pass and run here. However, the total's really high at 65.5. So college football totals, they maybe cap out around 70, 72 or so. So this is getting kind of close to that, despite the fact that Miami tends to play really a slower game and South Florida's offense is not better than Miami's defense. For a total to reach this high, really both teams would have to score a lot, and I don't necessarily see that happening for South Florida. So I took under 65.5 minus 110, and I took that at FanDuel. So moving out to the West Coast, I'm looking at Northwestern versus Washington. So Northwestern's a weak offense, but a very decent defense. Washington's above average in both. Teams play about an average pace, tend to favor the pass a little bit. Given the fact that the total is so low at 43, I took over 43 at minus 110. I took that at bet 365. I think that despite the fact that the defenses are better in this game, 43 is a very low total. Anything could go wrong, a pick six, a fumble recovery, a blocked punt, anything like that. And then you're very close to coming over that number. So I took over 43 at minus 110, and I took it at bet 365. So in the game between California and Florida State. So California is a decent offense, a decent defense, a relatively fast pace of play. Florida State is a average offense and above average defense. Despite the fact that the defenses are slightly better than the offenses, it'll be a slightly above average pace with a low total at 44.5. So I took California and Florida State University over 44.5 minus 110, and I took that at bet 365. So in the game between New Mexico State and Sam Houston, so New Mexico State is not a great team on offense or defense. They tend to play a slow game. They tend to be run focused. Sam Houston's not particularly great either. I mean, they're better than New Mexico State, but not by very much. They tend to play completely average in pace. They tend to be slightly throwing. But given the fact that New Mexico State is not that far behind as well, the game should be played at a slightly lower than average tempo. I took New Mexico State plus 14. And I took that at Caesars. So continuing in the state of Texas, I'm looking at Bowling Green versus Texas A&M. So Bowling Green is a weak team, offense and defense, a slow playing team. Texas A&M is above average in both, but also slow playing. Given the fact that both teams are playing slow, I took Bowling Green plus 23.5 at minus 110. I took that at bet 365. Again, a slow tempo game favors a lot of points. I think Bowling Green can hang in there and not lose by more than 4 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns and a field goal. So the last game that I'm taking a look at, I'm staying in the state of Texas, and I'm taking a look at Louisiana Monroe versus Texas. So Louisiana Monroe, weak on offense, weak on defense, a little above average in tempo. Texas, I've ranked as the second best offense and the 9th ranked defense. They tend to play above average tempo as well. So with this game, I think that Texas will be able to put up points. So I took UNLM in Texas over 52.5 minus 110. I took it at DraftKings. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye.